Ray, founder and CEO of Boon. I'm so excited to give you this tutorial on our Inventory Planner Starter Kit. This kit contains 5 templates created by our experts for you to use to help plan your inventory. We recommend using these templates in Google. Within each template, there is a full linked instructions that gives you the step-by-step instructions on what to add into what cells, what rows, what columns. But this tutorial will focus on really what each sheet is trying to tell you and give you an understanding of how we at Boon review these type of information for our full service clients. Our first one is our initial buy tool. This is a tool that will help you take guesswork out of those initial purchase orders that you're making before you even start selling. At the top, there is the linked instructions. And then at the top of each of our files is a summary. This is, of course, the most critical pieces of information that we want you to pull out of that particular template. All right, look at this one. We're looking at placing 35 different products with a quantity of 65,000 units for $478,000 cost, right? So really making sure you understand what you're going to pay for the inventory and then what you plan to sell through. So how many sales units you'd have, what your total revenue potential is, and what the profit margin is. In this template, what's really critical here is that you're looking at your whole assortment, even if not every SKU has to have its purchase order placed with the vendor at the same time. Often what I see with brands is, one, they place the same quantity across every single SKU. And we know that's not the case. Not everything is going to sell exactly the same. Secondly, they don't think about the whole assortment together and place portions of it as their vendors request the purchase orders for those items. But this template gives you the ability to put all of your information in, see how it rolls up in totality to make sure you're understanding, again, the cost that you're going to have to spend on this, the expectations by SKU to sell, as well as the potential revenue you can get from that purchase order. So my recommendation is to use one of these tools, save it off every time you have to place a new order. You may already be selling on your brand, but you've got a new portion of the assortment coming out. This is a great template to use. You may be expanding colors, types of products. Go ahead and use this. It's really about before you have selling available on those SKUs. It's a great place to start. A few things to note within here. So 2 columns here, the weekly sales rate. Again, you don't have selling on this. The expectation is that you think about how much do I think product 1 versus product 2 versus product 3. Not all going to sell the same. You can kind of identify your A SKUs, B SKUs, C SKUs, and give them an estimated weekly selling rate. Also, how many selling weeks you want that product to be available for. Not all products live all the time. So having the ability to say, okay, these products are going to live for 12 weeks and these are only going to live for 6 weeks. Also, if you have a product that you plan to be core in your assortment and live all the time, you don't have to put 52 weeks down. You can say, okay, I'm going to buy it for that first quarter, 12 weeks of selling. Or if your lead time is a little longer, you could buy for 15 or 16 weeks of selling of that product. Then it's going to tell you what those sales will be and the revenue. Then this sell-through target. This is the idea that not every single unit can go out the door, certainly at full price, to purchase. So in inventory, we really think about what the sell-through is to what you bought versus what you eventually sold. So here we're looking at it in terms of like, we think we're going to sell 600. We're going to sell through target at 80. So we have to have 750 on hand. Now, depending on your business, you could adjust this. We've set it at 80 as an initial starting point to give you that option, but you can update this if you want to use a different number for your business. Again, really using this initial buy tool to make sure you're looking holistically at your purchase before even having any selling on it. Next sheet is the assortment inventory dashboard. This is a place where you can look at where your inventory is sitting once you actually have inventory on hand. It's a great thing to save off maybe every month, maybe every week, maybe other week, depending on how fast your inventory is changing, but a place to just have that snapshot of what the cost is that you're holding on them, the retail value of that inventory, as well as the margin %. Really what the thing that's changing here is your on-hand quantity. So it's about understanding, given the date that you're running this, you're putting the data in, how much inventory do you have on hand by SKU? Again, a lot of times we look at the total inventory and we know how many thousand units we have, but it doesn't necessarily tell you the story down to the assortment level. So what's your quantity on hand? And then how does that stack up from a cost and retail perspective? This can help you see where maybe some of your cash is being held up in a few certain SKUs that you can then make a strategy for to work through. It's a good place to look at, again, in some regularity in order to keep track of your inventory. Our next one is our purchase order log. This purchase order log is a place for you to get every PO organized and in one place. Of course, when you create a purchase order, you're likely making a PDF, emailing it over to the vendor, and having some communication back and forth. And that's great. But being able to see all the purchase orders in one organized fashion for anyone across the team is really critical. I have found that it's early stage brands, of course, there's a million things to do, but if you start this early and keep a really straight log of everything that you're ordering, it can help avoid surprises in terms of cash payments that you weren't expecting from the vendor or not understanding what fully is committed to as far as those units that are coming in. So being able to have this, see what outstanding POs are there, how much quantity is on them, what's the cost that's due on the total of those POs versus what's ordered and what you've already received. Also, this will give anybody working in the inventory planning realm that really good snapshot of what's expected to be received, when is it expected to be received. This is also a file where you can just have one copy of it. You can just continue to add rows to the bottom for as many purchase orders as you need to make over those first couple of years of your business. And the other really great things within this template are the understanding of status, right? A purchase order goes through a life cycle from being ordered, maybe partially received, then gets fully received, and it could potentially be overdue. Having those 4 statuses, and we've created a really easy drop down for you, will allow you to filter and just identify places where you need to take action or then go back to the emails and say, hey, why is this overdue to that particular vendor? Additionally, we have a great spot at the very end that gives you notes. We know all this communication that's happening between the vendors. It's a great place to just drop in a few notes about what might be happening with that purchase order line item. Again, really great singular source for all those purchase orders coming in. Our next one is getting a little more into the weeds. So this is our reorder calculator. And from a summary perspective, it's telling you how many items need to be reordered, how many need to be ordered immediately, how many within 1 month, and then the total cost and quantity of your assortment. And what this is really trying to do is give you the ability to understand what needs to be ordered when and in what quantities. What I see sometimes is brands will wait until you hits like the last 5 units or maybe already out of stock. But what we're trying to provide is an opportunity to anticipate when it might be out of stock and be able to project the right quantity to reorder for that SKU. I would recommend doing this template every week, depending on how fast your business is moving, about every month, maybe every other week. Saving this off, hey, this is my reorder calculator, October 2025, so you can see what you placed given the mathematics that were in the template at that time. Once you get it set with all of your assortment, obviously SKU, cost, retail, minimum order quantity, right? If your vendor has a requirement of how much you have to order of that SKU, put it in here. Lead time, of course, is critical for us to know as to how far out we have to order or to maintain the flow of inventory. Weekly sales rate. So this is one of the items that will change. So if you're running it every 4 weeks, you're going to look back and you can look at the last 4 weeks, the last 8 weeks. How have my items been selling? Not every item performs the same, of course. So really getting as close to an accurate weekly sales rate as possible. Taking the last month, dividing by 4 is great. Last 2 months, dividing by 8, great. Doesn't have to be so prescriptive, just getting a relative rate in here. And then this is our weeks of supply. How much do you want to hold, right? Depending on the product type, the amount of lead time you have, I can adjust this. That's how much we want to hold in essentially safety stock. And then you're dropping in the quantity on hand. So how much do you currently own today? That will generate how much weeks of supply you have. And this really great column telling this is something we would look at immediately. Hey, across all this assortment, where are the places where I'm going to run out of stock quickly? File is we're already doing that for you. So then you can look over to the next 2 columns here, the weeks until you need to reorder and your urgency score. That weeks until you need to reorder is calculating based on what you're selling and what you own. How long can you wait to place that order? Of course, if it's urgent, it's going to say reorder now, and it's going to give you a high urgency score. If it's not quite as urgent, it might tell you, okay, let's find one here that has 3 weeks. This says technically you don't have to place it today. You can wait 3 weeks and then in 3 weeks tell your vendor what you need. our recommendation to go ahead and use this and start with your high urgencies, of course. The other great thing about this template is once it tells you that it's a high urgency order, it doesn't just stop there. You're able to see the date to place it. So we're supposed to place it today. This is being recorded on September 3rd, and it's telling me that we need to order it today. It's saying it will arrive on January 1st, 2026, given the lead time that you have from your vendor on this product. It's then going to tell you how much to order directly. It's saying based on all the math of how much you own, how much you need, that weeks of supply target to hold 6 weeks, you need to order 93 of this product. It's also going to take into account that final or the MOQ to give you your final order quantity. We're not going to recommend a quantity that your vendor won't accept. So if there's a place where, for example, on this row, the math is saying you need 43 units, but it's going to round it to 50 because the vendor has a minimum order quantity of 50. So we're saying, hey, you're going to order 50. It will tell you the cost of that, which is how we're rolling up the entire cost of your order. And then it will give you a place for notes. Free sell, you can write something there. The ideas are, hey, I'm going to hold on this for 2 more weeks, even if it's a high one. You're just going to wait on the cash flow. Or it's an item that you want to discontinue. So I'm not going to reorder it because it's not something I want to continue to carry in the assortment. But having those notes there and saving this off as a version for the timestamp that you're doing it, again, September 2025, October 2025, will give you the ability to look back if you need to, but also get in the routine. This is something much like going to the gym. Exercise gets easier as you do it. So getting in a good, consistent routine, even every month, checking through your reorders, seeing what needs to be reordered, checking those highs, going through the mediums, really set you up for success and try to avoid those out of stocks. And finally, our cash flow template. This one obviously leans much more towards the CFO world, finance, bookkeeping. But as inventory planners, we really wanted to provide this as a quick snapshot opportunity to stress the importance of your inventory purchases on your cash flow. It's probably the number one expense in your business in those first few years. And so really having a handle on it is a great way to also manage that you have enough cash to make the inventory purchases that you need. My recommendation here is you can go ahead and just use one file and update it every month as you actualize, or you could create a couple scenarios, say maybe high revenue, medium, low revenue, so you can see how the cash flow might change as your sales projections could change. But really, our focus here, of course, is on the inventory purchases. So we have that on this top line. We've given you a few other expense rows. Of course, this row list could be incredibly long. We're trying to keep it as concise as possible, not overwhelm, and just really making sure that you're accurately understanding what to place from an inventory purchase and understanding how that impacts the bottom line cash flow. So certainly something should be discussed, again, with CFO and or bookkeeping CPAs, but wanting to give you this opportunity to round out your inventory planning starter kit with the ability to see it from a cash flow perspective. So we are so excited to be able to bring this inventory planning starter kit to all founders, and thank you so much.